Hey, welcome to part 3 of the LangChain tutorial. And today we're looking to build a text generation plugin, let's say for auto-completing emails or auto-completing a tweet or auto-completing a customer support ticket, as if we don't already live in a world where that is already happening. But with LLM, which stands for large language models, we're now approaching near human level of text generation. And today we'll build one using LangChain to really get a sense of how easy it has become for anyone to just create this AI applications and take away whatever remaining customer support jobs that are left. Now, I will say upfront that we will not be using OpenAI for this. Why? Because first of all, it costs OpenAI credits. And sometimes when I make tutorials for LangChain, I get people telling me that they don't have enough credits or they don't have credits left or that it becomes too expensive for them to continue using OpenAI. So today we build our text generation, our text completion application using HuggingFace hosted GPT-2 model, which you can use for free. In fact, you could also use GPT-2 by downloading the source code, train a model locally, because GPT-2 is actually open source, unlike GPT-3. The fastest way though to get you started is to just use HuggingFace Inference API, which comes with a pretty generous free tier anyway. So if you wanted to see tutorials of LangChain that doesn't stick with OpenAI and require an OpenAI key, then this is a good one to watch and follow along. And everything's free, no OpenAI credits are required. And as always, all the code, example prompts, everything will be on my GitHub. So if you want to code along, just go to the GitHub repo, fork it, clone it down to your machine, and then you can get started. So if you're ready, let's open up a blank file wherever you want to write your code, and let's begin with the imports. I'm going to create a new file. You can name it anything you want. You could also do it from here. You can say demo4.py. Just as a reminder, we are already on part 3 of the series. If you really wanted to learn LangChain from the beginning, you want to see other kind of applications, click onto the playlist on my channel. You can find a lot of other examples, and I'll be posting quite regularly about it. But I'm on demo 4 right now. So let's go ahead and create a file. If you want to just go to GitHub, clone it, do that. That's fine too. Once you're done installing the dependencies, which really should include LangChain among some other things, then you're ready to go. So we begin with the imports, and you should already know the drill by now. So we have the LangChain. So let's from LangChain import. Now I won't be using OpenAI. So usually you see me use OpenAI at this point, but here I'm going to be using HuggingFace. So I'm going to use the HuggingFace hub, and then I'm going to have the LLM chain, and that's my imports sorted. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you how you could go to HuggingFace and find a repo you want to use. And when I say repo, I don't mean GitHub repo. I mean the repositories on HuggingFace, right? So all these different projects, all these different natural language models, all these different deep learning models, they're hosted on HuggingFace. You can find one and you can bring it in here. So I'll show you an example. Let me open up my browser and let's find one and we'll bring it in. So this is one example. This is T5 based fine-tuned WikiSQL. This is Google's T5 fine-tuned on WikiSQL for English to SQL translation. Now we did a few English to SQL translation using GPT-3 in the last video, but here I'm going to show you how you can do the same thing here, but using HuggingFace instead of using GPT-3 and then having to pay a small amount of credits for each call, right? So the first detail that I want to mention here, you can read up, I'll leave a link here as well. You can read up about that. You can see how this is done. Right, basically taking a text and then generate another set of text. So the text-to-text generation, there are some examples in here. You could try and compute right away and say, okay, how many models will fine-tune using that, and click compute or control enter, and it would just try to give you that result. But you could also call it programmatically, and you can call it through its API, and that's what we're going to be doing. So there is this hosted Inference API, and you click on it, it brings you to another page. It tells you a little bit about how this service is provided. It says test and evaluate for free over 80,000 publicly accessible machine learning models or your own private models with a simple HTTP request. So you don't have to use LangChain for this. You could have actually just do a open up your shell, open up the terminal, and then just do a HTTP request, you get the same results, right? But we're gonna be using LangChain, because that's kind of the whole point. We're trying to learn how to build agents and actions and stuff, all right? It gave you a lot more other features here that I can cover in a video, so I'm not going to even try to do that, but I will tell you that if you want to use the hosted Inference API, then you just want to go and get a free account. So this is free. Just go to HuggingFace, click into your profile, and then go into settings. Once you're in settings, there is the access tokens. So click into the access tokens page. Here it says user access tokens. So this allows you to programmatically authenticate your identity to the HuggingFace hub, allowing applications to perform specific actions specified by the scope of permission. So what you want to do, you should have nothing in this at this point. Just click on new token, give it a name. You can call it LLM with LangChain. That's what I call it. You can call it anything. You don't want to have this in your repository or anything. If you want to have it in your repo, just make sure you add it into your git ignore so that it's not accidentally committed onto GitHub. I keep mentioning this in every video because people keep doing the same thing. All right, so make sure that your token stays safe with you. Don't reveal it, don't share it with anyone. You should just click on the copy to just copy that, and then let's go back to our IDE and paste that in. So you could create a new .env file. I already have an env file, so it's not going to let me do that, but you should just go ahead and create an env file. I'm going to create env2, you should create env, and you should just put in the token that you pasted, and that should begin with a HF, and then it should give you the rest. So something like probably looks like that. All right. It should begin with HF, which stands for Hugging Face, and that's what you want to have here. You don't need an OpenAI API key, but you do need this. Make sure you name it env and not env2. I'm not going to show you my env2, but that is essentially what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to delete this file because I don't need it. Now, how do you bring that in? And we've seen this before. I've explained this before throughout the series as well. And you just do a from.env import load.env, and what you do is you just call it like this. And now everything that you define in the env file is going to be exposed into your environment, and you can use them freely in your code. And if you look at my address bar, you will see that this is the URL to this model, huggingface.co, that's .co, and then the name of the user, and then the name of the model, right? So MRM 8488, and then T5 base fine-tuned WikiSQL. So that's what you want. So you want to just either copy Control C, Control V, copy that. So I'm going to say this is my LLM, and I'm going to say Hugging Face hub, right? And give it an repo ID and paste that in. So paste everything in except remove the root and just have this. So this is your repo ID. And once you have done that, you are now free to go ahead and try and maybe have a chain. And this chain would be something like LLMChain. This is where you import it, and this is how you call it here. And you want to specify a prompt. So you could ask a question that you would expect to pass into the browser. So if you look at this, this is where you would try to pass in your input, right? Your prompt, and then you would say compute, and you would get the output. That is exactly the same idea here. So you want to pass in your prompt, and you want to say, you know, maybe what is the, I don't know, average age of the respondents in the survey data. You could do something like this. You could try to be more specific, saying that maybe using a mobile data, add a qualifier to it if you want to. That is kind of your prompt, all right? But what is more common in this kind of workflow is you set up some sort of template so that you can swap like template strings. Or if you code in Python, you have the F string, or if you code in JavaScript, you have the template literal string. That's kind of the same thing here. So instead of actually coding it that way, we are actually going to bring in the prompt template. So how do we do that? We say from LangChain. This is something to do with the prompts. So we're going to import them from the prompts submodule, and we say import, we're going to say prompt template. And instead of hard coding it that way, we're going to just create our prompt, and we say prompt template, and now we define our input variables. And I want to have, let's say, question. This is where I could call it passing in something and say that is my input variable as a question, and then it will fit that question into the rest of the string. So this is kind of a fancy F string in a way, right? So you can say template, and what would the template be? So this is the rest of the string, and you could say something like, hey, please translate this for me. Please translate this from English, or translate English just to make it a bit shorter. Translate English to SQL for me, please. You could say something like this. And then you want to pass in your question. So you create a simple template that you can use. You could just go ahead and say prompt would just use this template. So let's define that template. And then we say the LLM, this would just refer to this one, hub LLM. So let's do that. And again, I like to print everything to be supposed to be true because I like to see the step by step of what it's doing and what are the thought process getting us to a certain answer. So I like to actually just print verbose true. At least in development mode, I like to keep it on. And then I would just go ahead and print the response for that. So I could say print and say hubchain.run. This is very similar to a lot of things we've done up to this point of the series. All right, you can put a question in here. Whatever I pass in here is going to be fed into the question, which is then going to be fitted into the rest of the template. So it's going to, let me just write a prompt here first. I'm going to say, what is the average age of the respondents in the survey data, or using a mobile device? I don't know, something, right? Quick question. Now this is going to be fitted into the rest of this template. It's going to take this as the question. That's your input variable. It's going to pass that in, and then now the template is going to append. In this case, it's actually prepending this, and then pass the whole thing onto this model, and then it's going to, because you call it .run, it's going to run, execute, give you the result back, right? So let's save all of that. Let's go ahead, make sure we're in the right environment, and let's say Python demo4.py. And what do you know? I actually don't have a HuggingFace Hub API token. So let me go and fix that right now. Okay, I've done that already. So it tells me that it did not find a HuggingFace API token. And it expect that. But I did call the load.env. So what happened? What happened is I forgot to modify my envs. When I was showing you in the demo, I was using .env2. I wasn't using env, and then when I delete that, it wasn't actually persisted anywhere. So I sort of go into env and I did what I just told you to do. Just append that line, add a line, and I put HuggingFace hub underscore API underscore token, and then put in your hf underscore whatever else, right? So now that I've done that, let's go ahead and run it again. It's done. So it says this is the prompt after formatting. So it says translate English to SQL. So it basically take my template, translate English to SQL, and then it append the question into it. So what is the average age? So again, like I said, if you don't want to do that, you could just have no prompt. But it's common to use prompt templates because you usually want to build applications that give some sort of context, provide some sort of tone, say that, okay, maybe assume the role of a CEO, try to give this advice. So you want to have some sort of context, and prompt template is a way for you to just add those things. So sort of helping you to, they call it prompt engineering. So sort of help you create this context for your user, for your end user in your application to be able to give better prompts, to give more contextual prompts, all right? So that's what prompt engineering really is, right? So what is the average age of the respondents using a mobile device? That is appended, and now it takes that and it gave us the result, and that's select average AGE years from table where device equals to mobile. I want to say this is about maybe it's almost correct, but it's quite bad because this is not valid SQL. You don't actually do that, like select average. So what you want to have is you want to have something like average, or you could use the capital average, and then you have your model. So you want to maybe have like the average year, for example. That would be what you do. You could name it as average year if you want, but you don't have to select average. And in fact, if you try and maybe ask about median, I think you will not understand that as well. So let's try and do that demo for the PY. So now the question is, what is the median age of the respondents? And it gave you the select median age years. Again, it's very a bit naive, a bit simplistic. You just replace the AVG with median, and that's not the right way to do it. That's not how you compute a median using SQL. So it's not perfect, all right? Basic stuff it could do, all right, but it's not perfect. If you really want to get better performance from natural language query, you should watch my earlier video, which is about using GPT-3 to query, right, your CSV file, your SQLite file, your databases, and that is a lot more performance. GPT-3, GPT-4, ChatGPT, all of these are so much better. So what you realize is that at this point, right, the T5 model was supposed to be, this is Google's T5 model. It's not really that performant in terms of, it doesn't really do a good job at translating English to SQL. Maybe for simplistic tasks, for more simpler queries, maybe a select from where it could do that. But when you try to ask it like median and average and stuff like that, it messes up. Compared to the last video, in the second video of the series, we actually used GPT-3 and ChatGPT, GPT-3, GPT-4. Those are actually a lot more robust, and they're a lot more smarter in terms of how they generate from our English, from our natural language, generate the right query for us to query against our CSV or SQLite or our own data, all right, CSV file or SQLite file. And T5 here, Google's T5 model here, seems to fall short. Maybe it's not T5, maybe it's just the training data. It just doesn't have enough training data to train on it. So if you want to, you could just go ahead and download it and I don't know, train it a bit more. But in this case here, it doesn't really give us the desired result. That's not how you query median, and that's not how you query average. All right, so let's go in and find another example on HuggingFace. Let's find another model on HuggingFace, and let's maybe use the GPT-2 model. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to HuggingFace. I'm gonna do a search for HuggingFace GPT-2, and this is the one. So this is the GPT-2 model, all right? So let's create another example. This time let's do some text generation. Let's create maybe a tweet generator or an email generator, all right? So if you want to save all of this and then just create a new file again, demo5.py, paste all of this in. So we don't need all of that anymore. This is just GPT-2. Why is that? Because if you look at the browser, you see that this is just huggingface.co/GPT2. There's no user. It's actually it's kind of like an official model on this, so it's just GPT-2. Alright, so we need to just use that one. And let's try and maybe change the template here as well. I want to say something like let's generate some angry emails or maybe angry tweets, right? Let's try and see how it would generate angry tweets, because we don't have the kind of energy to generate angry tweets. I'm 34, I'm 33, approaching 34. I don't really have the kind of energy left for me to be angry all the time. So how do I pretend to be angry? I could get GPT-2 to do it for me. I could get him to be angry for me. So I'm gonna give it a start and then ask it to complete the rest of the tweet for me. So I'm gonna say, you had one job, very angry. I'm gonna find the angry emoji online on Google and paste it in here. And then I'm gonna say, you're the you're the CEO and you didn't have to stoop this low, or you didn't have to be sarcastic or whatever. And then I'm gonna end it here, and it's gonna try and complete the rest of the tweet for me, and that's perfect. Now I don't want this to be hard-coded. I want this to be actually the profession, and I'm gonna change this to profession. Alright, so I have my input variable profession, and now I will have my, this is where I substitute my profession. So I'm gonna have a few professions here. Maybe this is good enough. I'm gonna try with a customer service agent. So this is gonna say, you had one job, you're the customer service agent, and you didn't have to be sarcastic. And then it's gonna try and complete the tweet for me, because again, I'm too old to be angry all the time. So I'm just gonna let GPT pretend to be angry, send a tweet out there, and create some negative energy on Twitter where this belongs. All right, and then I'm also gonna say something like, you had one job, you're the politician, all right. And you didn't have to be sarcastic. All right, that's the second one. I'm gonna have another one. What else do you guys? Maybe what are some other interesting? Maybe fintech CEO, because everyone loves the fintech CEO, right? It's a very well, one of the most well-loved jobs possible, right? Insurance agents is another one. So we have 4 professions here. All right, the rest is pretty much the same. So .env, LangChain, HuggingFace, GPT-2. You had one job. You're the politician, and you didn't have to be sarcastic. You're the insurance agent. So let's go ahead now and let's run it. Show you just how easy it is to use LangChain and using HuggingFace out. Find a repo, plug it in. All I'm changing is just this one line of code, and then add a template, 2 lines of code, and then just examples. Just 2 lines of code and then examples, and that's it. So let's go ahead and run demo 5.py, and let's see what kind of results we get. It's pretty interesting. Get this emoji over as well. I don't really use emoji in my kind of my conversations. I don't even use emoji in my own like personal text or anything like that. But it's fun to just sometimes pretend to be angry. But I'm not really that kind of person. I don't jive like that. And you see that it does everything in 9 seconds. So I'm using my prompt here, and you see that there's it takes 9 seconds to run all of that. So it started off with this: you had one job, you're the customer service agent, and you didn't have to be sarcastic. You were the customer support, and even worse, you made people cry. Okay, so, and then he continued. This is not done yet, but he's cut off somewhere, and that's because of the max lang. So what I want to do is I want to modify the max lang, but let's take a look at the rest. You had one job, you're the politician, and you didn't have to be sarcastic, but it's not your fault. All we need to do is let you do what you want, and we won't ask them for your back. Not really sure what he means there. You had one job, you're the fintech CEO, and you didn't have to be sarcastic about it. And when you were the CEO or boss of some other company, I didn't believe you. I loved you and I believed you. Well, this is obviously somebody's really hurt there, right? You had one job, you're this insurance agent, and you didn't have to be sarcastic. In my world, when something gets bad and you just need somebody to keep your hand from slipping, you try running it, but don't. So I didn't get to read the full story. Very interesting story, but I didn't get to read all of it because of the cut off the max lang there. So what I want to do here is I want to actually change this by setting in some parameters. So I'm gonna bring this down, and I'm gonna pass in some additional keyword arguments. So the first one is I'm gonna pass in the temperature. I'm gonna set the temperature to be maybe a bit higher, because this is kind of fun anyway. It's I don't need it to be, like in the earlier videos, in the video number 2, I actually set temperature to be 0. And the reason I do that is I want it to be more deterministic, because I'm trying to get English to precise SQL that I can run on, and so the SQL engine will then run, and then the agent will collect the answer, run the executed pandas code, the pandas will execute the Python agent, collects the code, return it back to me. I want this to be non-chaos. I want this to be very predictable, very reasonable, right? But in this case here, it's a bit more open-ended anyway. I don't really mind. Like, I could accept this answer, and so I'm gonna set it to be slightly higher. I'm gonna say 0.8, and then I'm gonna give it a max length argument as well, and I want it to be slightly longer. So I'm gonna give it 100, because otherwise this is all cut off, and I don't get to read the full tweet that it's composed for me, which is quite nice. In a parallel universe, you have to pay somebody money to pretend to be angry for you on your behalf, because getting angry is not worth it, right? But now you don't have to. You could just get GPT-2 to do it for you for free. So why not? Let's go ahead and run demo5.py, and let's see. So the first one, you had one job, you're the customer support. Okay, now it's giving me 100 different. So I can still customize this to be a bit longer if I want to, but 100 is good enough because I'm not using this for real. But if you want to, you could have it longer. So let's go and read story. Drama time. This is so much drama. And I think one reason why GPT and all these tools are so popular is because people just love drama. This is so much drama. So you had one job, you're the customer service agent, and you didn't have to be sarcastic. It was amazing and I thought it was hilarious. I can't believe people thought they would be able to make a living doing this, but then they made it. I never thought I'd be able to make a living. It starts to get repetitive a bit here, but it's also one of the characteristics of this kind of generative AI. So GPT-3, GPT-2, even Codex, which is the one that you have in Visual Studio Code, they can be repetitive. They have this pattern of like starting to give you this repetitive nonsense. So I can't believe people thought they'd be able to make a living doing this, but they made it. I never thought I'd be able to make a living doing this, but I knew that the work that was going on was going to be valuable to me. I'm so lucky to be in your company, so thank you. So it ended up being actually started off angry. It ended up just being somebody nice. All right, that's cool. You had one job, you're a politician, and you didn't have to be sarcastic. It was all just talk. You've become so good. I love you. Your great-grandfather used to go to my house to play guitar, right? Then here's the next one. You had one job, you're the fintech CEO, you didn't have to be sarcastic, but you did have to be sincere. And then another angry emoji. You could even write a tweet and say, hey, you need to read something about me. I'm the CEO and this is the deal and I'll make it for you. Do you want me to pay you? Don't worry, I'll pay you. So what's the problem when you're, okay, anyway. You had one job, you're the insurance agent, you didn't have to be sarcastic. I don't know, there's a lot of people out there who want to do that, so it's alright. I do need to have my job. I don't want to have my job, I want to have my life. I want to have my life ruined. You can only have one job and you can only have one job. You're just going to have to be careful what you say, right? So if you think that this is a bit too wild, you can tone it down, change the length of the character, try to regenerate that. Because the temperature is quite on the high side, you will expect to get very different response because of the temperature here. So this, for example, is actually a lot better than 0.8, I feel. So at 0.7, you had one job. You're the insurance agent. You didn't have to be sarcastic about it. But you're like, I hope I'm not the crazy person that I am, which is basically being sarcastic. Now, I'm not a crazy person that I am. I'm a family man. I don't need to pretend to be crazy. I don't need to pretend to be the type of person who thinks that my mom is crazy. I don't need to so it starts to repeat again. The next one, you're the fintech CEO, you didn't have to be sarcastic to say that to a company like Uber. The fact that Uber is an app company is more than enough to convince you that you're a CEO. Uber is a company that's making people happy, making them a better driver, and giving them more time to learn. Okay, this one is a bit of drama here. You're the politician, you didn't have to be sarcastic, I guess. You've taken a lot of risks, but there's something else you don't know. In an interview, I asked him, what is your biggest fear? Nothing, you're just a guy, and so on and so forth. This one. You had one job, you're the customer service agent, and you didn't have to be sarcastic! Exclamation mark. You work hard, and what is it with all the money you earn to work for more than one job? You're the good guy who got it done. You're the boss who got it done. You're the person who has the courage to come clean. So anyway, that is kind of a generative text for you, right? And so I believe that in GPT-3 and GPT-4, this kind of text generation got a lot better and got a lot more. It gets smarter with the context. It understands it better. It gets better at generating text. But this is still GPT-2, but it does it and it's reasonable, right? Temperature 0.7, max length 100. You can of course go and clone the repo, tune it, change a few parameters. Maybe come up with better templates than I have. I did this within under 20 minutes. I don't have a lot of time to sort of tune this example, but I wanted to show you at least 1-2 examples there, demo 4 and demo 5, to show you how you could just connect to Hugging Face, pull out a repo, put down a model, and then just use the Inference API to just call the repo and then pass in a prompt with your template and then get a return back from Hugging Face, right? And so all of this is trivially easy to do using LangChain, which you've been learning. And with that, I'll end part 3 of this series. I still have a few more ideas to go, but these are some of the more requested ones. This video came about because people were telling me that, hey, I really want to follow along, but then I don't have, I can't afford I can't afford OpenAI's API, and they're billing me every month, and I don't have enough to go around to be trying this on as a hobby project, right? Maybe you're a student or something. So I want to show you that this is a lot bigger than using OpenAI's API. If you can't afford that, you can still use LangChain. You can still build amazing applications. There's a few more LLM you can look for that are free, and we're going to touch on a few of them in this series and hopefully get to do more of that. So tell me what you want to see. If you leave them in the comment section, I'm going to read, I'm going to reply to every single comment when I get to see them. So let me know. Hope you enjoyed the very short tutorial. See you in the next video. Bye.